Okay, so you guys have given us quite a bit from Tarot by High C for this deep dive. And we're looking at March 17th to the 30th, 2025.
Right.
Trying to pull out what feels most important for you to be aware of coming up astrologically these next couple of weeks.
Right.
And kind of looking at it through the lens of, like what opportunities are there for you to understand things better or to grow personally?
Yeah, think of this as like your astro cheat sheet for a couple weeks that are going to be super dynamic.
Right.
The source material highlights this overarching theme of illusion, revelation, and reboot.
Oh, wow.
So it might not be as it seems.
Yes.
Things might come to the surface that are a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
And we might be called to make some changes.
And it sounds like we've got a pretty crowded dance floor, astrologically speaking, because we have Mercury retrograde, Venus retrograde, Neptune's in the mix, and a new moon solar eclipse.
All in 2 weeks.
Oh, my goodness.
It's a lot. It sounds like a cosmic pressure cooker.
Yes, it is.
And I think one of the big things the material points to is this longer-term shift of Neptune moving into Aries.
Okay.
And that is a really big deal.
Yeah.
Because Neptune moves very slowly through the zodiac. And it hasn't been in Aries for over 150 years.
Oh, wow.
So the last time that happened was leading up to the Civil War in the United States.
Interesting.
So it gives you a sense of like the kind of slow, profound change that this transit can represent.
Wow.
And eventually Saturn will join Neptune in Aries.
Okay.
And together that is going to be potentially a time where illusions are really starting to dissolve.
Okay.
And we see things a little bit more for what they are.
Okay, so let's take this week by week.
Yes.
And the first week that we're looking at, March 17th to the 23rd.
Right.
The material kind of gives this overall feeling of like a mythic journey.
I love that.
Where there's some illusion,
Yeah.
there's some deep self-reflection, and then like a potential re-emergence. So it feels like we're going through an inner epic.
100%. And the material also talks about how the emotional atmosphere might feel really intense during this time.
Yeah.
You might feel really like moved by what's happening for other people. More empathy, more compassion.
Right.
But also things might feel very personal. So it's like we're feeling everything a lot more.
Yeah.
And so there could be like more reactive responses.
Oh, so like kind of extra sensitive.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah.
So paying attention to our emotional triggers,
Yeah.
how we're processing things is going to be really important.
Absolutely. And the idea of like confronting illusions really resonates with me. It feels like we're being asked to look at what we've just accepted as truth.
Yes.
And really see, is there another perspective available?
100%. And there's also this intensification of feelings,
Okay.
ideas, and desires.
Okay.
So those things that we have maybe been putting on the back burner
Right.
are really going to start to like bubble up to the surface.
And that might make us feel kind of confused or anxious because it's a lot of energy to handle.
And we don't necessarily have all the answers.
Yeah, but we don't need them right away.
No.
That's good.
No.
It's like
we're exploring.
just feel your way through it.
We're kind of in this review, reconsider mode.
All right.
And that is also highlighted by Mercury and Venus being retrograde.
Okay.
When a planet is retrograde, it's not that things are going haywire. It's more that we're in this inward turning process.
Right.
Of like going back over things.
Right.
Gathering information.
Right.
And then that can inform how we move forward.
Okay, so let's look at some specifics.
Yes.
And on Monday, March 17th, we have the Sun conjunct Mercury retrograde.
Right.
And the source calls that a turning point for rewriting the game plan.
Yes.
So what does that look like?
So this is really interesting.
Yeah.
Because there's a focus here on past decisions that we may have made impulsively.
Okay.
Or communication that wasn't well thought out.
Oh.
So it's about going back to those moments and seeing them in a new light.
Okay.
Do your research.
Yeah, sure.
Edit your plans.
Right.
Relaunch them in a way that is maybe a little bit more mindful.
Yeah.
You might have missed some information.
Yeah.
Or interpreted things incorrectly.
Right.
And now we have the opportunity to gain that clarity.
And kind of move forward from there.
Resist the urge to like jump into impulsive fixes.
Right.
And instead think more strategically.
Okay. Then on Tuesday, March 18th,
Okay.
Mercury retrograde forms a sextile to Pluto. Now, a sextile is generally a helpful alignment.
Yes.
And Pluto is very intense.
Yes, it is.
So we are being encouraged to dig deep and speak boldly during this time.
This is a time where you might feel like your thinking is really sharp
Okay.
and insightful.
Yeah.
You have more of an urge to understand what's really going on. The motivations behind people's actions.
Interesting.
So it's a time for maybe having those difficult conversations that we've been putting off. Or really analyzing past choices. To see where they've led us. And what we can learn from them.
So it's not just about speaking up. It's also about listening.
100%.
Okay.
And being receptive to what other people have to say.
And the source talks about old secrets coming to light and power dynamics in our relationships becoming a little bit clearer.
Yeah, so there's this potential for like hidden information to come out.
Okay. So be ready for it.
Be ready.
Yeah.
It could be a really good time for breakthroughs in therapy.
Okay.
Or finally admitting to ourselves what we really deeply desire.
Okay, now, Wednesday, March 19th brings Venus retrograde conjunct Neptune.
Yes.
And this description is quite something.
I know.
Glamorous hallucination.
Glamorous.
Love, lies, and delusional delights.
It's a lot.
That's
I think this transit is really about how our perception is being colored by fantasy and idealism. So there's potential for like feeling really romantic and dreamy.
Yeah.
But the key is to stay grounded.
Okay.
Don't get too swept away.
All right.
Because there might be some difficult truths about love and our emotions that start to surface.
So it's like what we think we want might not actually be what we want.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the danger is that we ignore those discrepancies.
Yeah.
And we let things continue on as they have been.
When they're not serving us.
Exactly. And the material specifically warns about idealizing romantic partners.
Right.
Nostalgia for past relationships that weren't actually that healthy.
Yeah.
And the urge to rescue.
Right.
So to try and fix things that aren't ours to fix.
Yeah.
So this transit is about seeing clearly.
Yeah.
Not through rose-colored glasses.
And it's interesting that Venus retrograde then moves into Pisces from March 27th to April 12th. And the source calls this a wave of relief.
Yes.
So why that shift?
Well, if we think about what's just happened with that Venus-Neptune conjunction, there could be a lot of confusion around relationships, love emotions.
Right.
And so this transit of Venus retrograde into Pisces is more gentle. It's about taking a breath and stepping back and reflecting on what we really need.
Right.
So it's a chance to prioritize self-love.
Okay.
Self-care.
Yeah.
Realign our hearts with what really matters.
Okay. Then we arrive at Saturday, March 29th.
Yes.
Which brings the new moon solar eclipse in Aries.
A big one.
And this is an electrifying reset button.
It is.
So buckle up.
This is a potent time for new beginnings.
Okay.
And remember, it's an eclipse.
Yeah.
So there's this element of like destiny, things unfolding that are a little bit out of our hands. The material says, plant seeds of intent and let the emotional weather pass.
Wow.
So stay grounded.
Yeah.
Focus on your intentions.
Right.
Don't get swept away by impulsive reactions.
So this is the last Aries Libra eclipse until 2032.
It is.
So it's a pretty significant event.
A big one.
In that cycle.
Yeah.
And Aries is very much about our independence.
Right.
Right. Our individuality.
And Libra is about how we relate to others.
Exactly.
So this final eclipse in that cycle in Aries really feels like a push towards owning your power.
Absolutely.
Owning your individuality.
Stepping into our own leadership.
Right.
And this is going to be a relief for those of us who have felt the back and forth energy of those previous eclipses.
And it also brings up that question of like, am I going to be a bully?
Right.
Or am I going to stand up for others?
How am I going to use my power?
Yeah. How am I going to use my power?
Exactly.
So it's really asking us to think about those things.
Absolutely. And this is a 30-day cycle that this new moon kicks off. And it's probably going to bring out issues around dishonesty, unethical behavior.
Yeah.
It could be a time where we're really looking at social and environmental issues and trying to create some positive change. And on that same day, Saturday, March 29th, Mercury also moves into Pisces.
Yes, it does.
Joining Venus retrograde.
So double Pisces energy.
But Mercury's still retrograde, right? So it's like a double dose of that dreamy Piscean energy.
Right. It's like deep self-reflection tangled with wild dreams.
Oh, wow.
There's a big desire here to reinvent ourselves.
Yeah.
But we might not be sure exactly how.
Right.
Like, what are the actual steps?
And I can imagine with that eclipse energy in Aries of wanting to move forward.
Right.
But then that Mercury in Pisces being like,
Yeah, like, whoa.
Kind of foggy.
Yeah, it's like a disconnect.
Yeah.
Between our actions and our thoughts.
So it's like, I want to charge ahead, but I can't really think straight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's important to be aware of that.
Yeah.
That we might feel a little scattered, a little mentally cluttered.
Okay.
And the material really encourages skepticism.
Oh.
During this time.
Okay.
Question your thoughts. Yeah. Question the information that's coming in, because things might not be what they seem.
And there might be some hidden messages.
Yes. Things that we've overlooked in the past.
Yeah.
That we can now gain clarity on.
Okay, so then we come to Sunday, March 30th, and this big one that we talked about at the top, Neptune moving into Aries.
Yes.
Which you called one of the most significant events
it is.
Of the year astrologically.
It's a big one. And remember, Neptune moves so slowly.
Right.
That when it changes signs, it's a really long-term shift in the collective energy.
Okay.
So this is going to be influencing how we experience things like compassion, dreams, creativity, spirituality for the next 14 years or so.
Wow.
And we get that little preview at the end of the year when it retrogrades back into Pisces. So we get like a little taste of what we're leaving behind.
And that comparison to the time before the Civil War is still really sticking with me.
Yeah.
It makes you think about what kind of big shifts might be coming.
It does.
On a societal level.
And remember, Saturn will eventually join Neptune in Aries.
Right.
And that's going to intensify this whole process of illusion dissolving and reality becoming a little bit clearer.
And the source material breaks it down in terms of like, here are the potential positives.
Yes.
Here are some of the things that we need to watch out for.
Right.
So on the positive side, we've got things like spiritual renewal.
Yes.
Inspired action.
Courage to pursue dreams.
Yeah.
More visionary leaders.
That all sounds very hopeful.
Yes, and it talks about this awakening of the spiritual warrior.
Oh, wow.
So it's like being willing to fight for what you believe in, but it's motivated by compassion.
Okay.
By altruism.
And we could see some really interesting creative breakthroughs.
Yes.
Especially in areas that deal with perception, like film or virtual reality.
Things that take us out of ordinary reality. Yeah. And I think we're going to see more of a collective focus on the metaphysical and paranormal. So things that are beyond the five senses.
Wow. So there's a lot of potential for like expansion of consciousness and awareness.
100%.
Okay. Now, what about the shadow side?
Right.
What do we need to watch out for with Neptune in Aries?
So some of the challenges could be things like ineffective action.
Okay.
Feeling ungrounded, confused action based on fantasy. We might see leaders who are delusional or out of touch with reality.
Okay.
There could be this tendency to romanticize aggression. And there's this fear of the unknown that might come up.
And the source also points out that this connection to illusion could lead to negative forms of escapism.
Addictions, self-deception.
And even mentions like literal water-related dangers, like floods.
Yeah, so this is a very potent energy that we really need to be mindful of.
Wow. So this whole 2-week period with all of this energy really does feel like a potent time for confronting what's not real.
Yes.
Seeking deeper truths.
Making some changes.
Making some big changes. Absolutely.
In our lives.
And a recurring theme is really self-reflection.
Okay.
Pay attention to what you're feeling.
Yeah.
What you desire. What you're communicating to others.
Okay.
Don't rush into anything.
Right.
Take your time. Gather information.
Yeah.
And then make a plan.
And these retrogrades plus that big sign change for Neptune really make this an astrological period worth paying attention to.
100%.
In your own life.
Notice what comes up for you.
Yeah.
What are you being shown?
Right.
What illusions are fading away?
So as we navigate these themes of illusion and revelation, here's a final question for you.
Okay.
What long-held belief about yourself or the world might be ready for a transformation?
That's a big question.
It is.
Something to ponder.
Something to ponder as we move through this pretty intense time.
Yes.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
See you next time.